Hi everyone, it's Laura here and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video I'm gonna show you how to make an Easter themed treat bag and a coordinating mini card. For the treat bag body, I am going to use these dies from the Craftin Desert Divas treat bag die set and some of the papers from the Lawn Fawn Let's Polka in the Meadow 6x6 paper pad. For the treat bag itself, I'm going to need two 6x6 sheets with the same design. And for today's project, I chose these striped yellow papers and I'm going to die cut both of them to obtain the two halves of my treat bag. The die I used not only cuts the bag shape, but also creates some score lines that will help me fold the treat bag when I'm going to be putting it together. And right now I'm just enforcing those score lines using a dotting tool and my scoreboard. And even if I suggest that you fold the bag after you adhere the embellishments to it, I wanted to show you how to fold the different parts. The one I just folded was the side of the treat bag, and these two flaps over here will allow me to glue the two halves of the treat bag together. This vertical line will help the treat bag to fold onto itself, and finally that last piece was the bottom part of the treat bag. At this point I'm going to use other papers from the same Lawn Fawn collection and some dies by Craftin Desert Divas to create the different elements for the scene I have going on my bag. The first element will be the panel for the sky that I cut out of some light blue paper using a scalloped rectangle die. For the grassy border, I used the die from the Craftin Desert Divas Outdoor Landscape 2 set. I then used the treat bag die to cut the grassy border once again, and I did this step so that the grassy border will cover all four sides of my treat bag and not only the front one. And I think this way the treat bag looks even more special. The last element on my scene is this picket fence that I cut using another die from the Craftin Desert Divas Outdoor Landscape 2 die set. I will list all the products I used in this project in the blog post that you will find linked down below. And in that same post, I will specify exactly which die I used for which element, so that it will be easier for you to follow along in case you decide to reproduce this project. At this point, I am stamping these adorable images from the Heffy Doodle Stamps Honey Bunny Boo set. I am using VersaFine Onyx black ink and I am stamping the images on some Winsor & Newton Cotman drawing paper because I'm going to color them with my Prismacolor pencils. I will be using several shades of the same colors to create shadows and build up dimension, and I will apply the color by using small circular motions, and I will also overlap the various shades to blend them together and get a smooth transition between them. And the important thing with Prismacolor pencils is to start with a light hand and only increase the pressure as you start working on the next layers. In this video I will share the coloring for one of the bunnies, for the carrot and for the group of 3 eggs in the center of the sheet. The rest of the images were colored with exactly the same color combinations and using exactly the same technique, so I decided not to include them in this video to keep it a little bit shorter. And I will now leave you with some music while I color the rest of the images, and I will be back once it's time to put our treat bag together. And these are the images when they're all colored in. The stamp set comes with coordinating dies, but I don't have them, so I fussy cut everything with my cutter bee scissors. And I also went ahead and die cut another set of elements for my scene, so that at this point I have 2 panels for the sky, 2 grassy borders, 2 picket fences, and obviously the 2 halves of my treat bag. I am now using a dotting tool to enforce the score lines I had created on the grassy border with the treat bag die, so that the border will follow nicely all the folds of the treat bag and I'll be able to adhere it flush to the treat bag itself. And at this point everything is ready and I can go ahead and assemble the treat bag. I am using a Tonic Studios Funky Tape Runner to adhere first the sky and then the grassy border. I am cutting away the part of the grassy border that corresponds to the side flap of the treat bag, because that part will not show in the final project and will just create unnecessary thickness that might give me problems when I'm going to assemble the treat bag. For the picket fence, I am going to use some liquid glue and a fine tip applicator. If you have something like Stick It, which is basically a sheet of double-sided adhesive, this step will be much easier, but I made it work anyways by first positioning the picket fence on my treat bag and then lifting each of the posts and applying glue underneath. And like I did for the grassy border, I cut off the part of the fence that would end up on the side flap of the treat bag. I repeated the same steps on the other half of the treat bag and then I added my images to the scene. I adhered the bunnies, the carrot and one of the Easter eggs on the front of the treat bag. And I decorated the back of the treat bag with the rest of the Easter eggs. To assemble the treat bag, you need to add double-sided adhesive or glue to each of the 4 flaps and to one of the bottom part of the treat bag. I first aligned and glued 2 of the long sides. I then adhered each of the short flaps to the bottom parts of the bag and then I closed it completely. I also decided to add a mini tag to my treat bag, and for that I am stamping the sentiment to you from one of the stamps in the Honey Bunny Boo stamp set. I then cut the sentiment strip to be a little bit smaller than this mini tag that I created with another die in the Craftin Desert Divas treat bag set and more lawn fawn pattern paper. I then moved on and started working on my mini card, for which I created another little scene using again dies by Craftin Desert Divas and pattern paper by Lawn Fawn. I am stamping the sentiment Happy Easter, also from the Honey Bunny Boo stamp set, on the panel for my sky, and I used VersaFine Onyx black ink. And at this point, all that's left to do is to glue my elements together. And I will also later on mount this mini card on a white card base that is just slightly larger than the yellow scalloped rectangle. As a last step, I threaded some baker's twine through the eyelets of my tag and I glued it on top of my treat bag, and my project is ready. And I have to say that I'm really happy about the way it turned out, and I really love that when you put the mini card and the treat bag side by side, the sentiments together read Happy Easter to you. And that's it for today. If you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, let me know in the comments below, and consider subscribing to my channel. You can visit my blog for the full list of supplies, and I'll catch you guys soon with the next one. Ciao!